Welcome to the KAJ Masterclass. Today on Business and Money, we are joined by ST Tangirala, an entrepreneur, growth operator, and co-founder and CEO of Sobo, an AI-powered talent marketplace helping small and mid-sized businesses accelerate growth through expert talent and AI-driven insights. And we'll discuss with him about how small businesses can actually use AI. Welcome to the show, ST.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you for having me on.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, ST. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people, a lot of small businesses across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about artificial intelligence for small businesses and much more. But before that, let's learn a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Yes, so my career has been about 7 years now. I've been working with small to mid-sized businesses, startups, and large enterprises, dealing with like some of the biggest challenges that these companies face. And when I encounter all these kinds of businesses, we've uncovered there's a lot of things we can diagnose much more easily using AI. And something that even OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, or even other tools won't be able to properly solve. And so I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia, here in the United States. Lived here for a while, and this is now my home base. And this is like the perfect place to really have a setting where you can be solving small business issues, because this is like Atlanta in general is home to a lot of them around here, and you're very much connected to like the heartland of America, where it's basically run by small to mid-sized businesses. And so yeah, that's kind of what my journey has been so far. Is like I've been in this field 7 years, and I kind of see what small businesses what problems they face, and basically we're here to take part in this new transformation of how small businesses are run across America and the wider world.
Absolutely, ST. Absolutely. So you say that most of the conversation around artificial intelligence is either overly optimistic or overly fearful. Why is that? And what is the reason? What are the things that makes them optimistic? What are the things that make them fearful?
I think one is that most of the AI, artificial intelligence, it started off in research labs, right? Most of the talk about artificial intelligence prior to the last 10 years was always dealt with in the research labs. And after that, it was like, all right, we got to start building tools to be able to automate things, make things a lot easier for other people to use, and make it more enticing. I think that was where the optimism came from, particularly from places like Silicon Valley, where there's Silicon Valley is known for constant trends from where it began, where it was started off with the silicon chip, then it evolved into the internet, then into social media, and then finally now artificial intelligence. So they pick up every trend, and since they're very very well connected with a lot of a lot of people, a lot of wealthy people, they have the power to be able to display the fact that AI is going to be the most positive thing in the world. We're changing the world. We're transforming the world. That's kind of where the optimism of it comes from. And also, like, there's a lot of people a lot of engineers who really want to really bring this tool to the next kind of frontier. Like it's like we kind of have this mentality of frontiersmen, where we want to take any kind of new thing that pops up and be able to display it all over the world and say, hey, we are creating this new tool and we're doing all that. I think the pessimistic side comes from the fact that you've seen this headlines that AI. I think people are kind of using AI to its maximum limit, where they're like, okay, you know what, we're gonna use this tool to streamline our businesses, automate jobs, remove people that are unnecessary for the business. and sometimes that kind of leads to a lot of unsettlement, like people feeling unsettled. Like, but one thing we kind of noticed is that throughout history, there's always been disruptive technologies that changed the world, and that may have made a lot of people feel unsettled over it. But then they slowly but surely adapted to it when they realized that it's not as bad as people say it is, in a sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, who do you think uh, is right here? Those people who are, who are overly optimist, or those who are being fearful? What is right, and who is right here?
Who is right? We don't know who is right and who is wrong because we're still in this 5 year period where there's a lot of movement going on in this space. So I'd say I just keep like a steady eye in terms of where it's headed, and I think I feel I would say if it's done properly, if it's properly implemented across the world, then I'd say I would give my hope to the optimists over the skeptics.
Okay, okay. So, small businesses, how should they understand optimism? Also, your statement that if done right, how should they understand both these parts? And also perhaps if they want to get some, some insight from what makes people fearful.
Yeah. I think it's more small businesses are the beating heart of any economy, right? I think that's what they should feel proud of. They're the ones that power the economy when there's other entities out there trying to do good things and not do good things. So they're always the lifeline of any. So small businesses are the lifeline of any economy. So they should feel like if they were to use AI, it should not be to the detriment of the business in a sense. Like it's so in a way of keeping them afloat, like keeping them adaptive to the times where they're at today. So I'd say it's what we're building at Sobo, we're kind of taking off the term AI and focusing more on diagnostics and in generating insights for your business, like so that can make it a lot more that can help you feel like, okay, maybe it's less daunting that I have to use AI to be able to do all this, because we're doing is making AI a lot more seamless for you. That's kind of how Sobo came out of the woodwork.
Right, right. Do you think, ST, this whole lot of optimism is due to, because it's a new thing, new tool? Everyone has a lot of big companies, they have an interest around it, and so because of that, it makes sense for them to create this whole noise, especially in the backdrop of this $1 trillion IPOs coming in, so they can, you know have the right, so-called right kind of valuation for themselves, and afterwards everything will settle down. Like the mall culture was there, then they said mom and pop stores will all get wiped out, and still people miss them, and a lot of businesses start that way. Help us understand from that angle. You are an expert in watching all these things, know about all these things, ST.
So I mean, I've been in the when I was born, and I was like when I was born, we were still kind of like we were still in the advent of the internet, and they were saying like the internet will be like the biggest disruptor of everything. It will take away jobs. It'll do this. It'll do that. I mean, it's always been hyped up. Like before we had the industrial age, it was hyped up saying, okay, it's gonna streamline, it's gonna take away jobs of people who do manual labor right now. But then there's like new jobs that were created in a sense where now you have people have to operate the machines and whatnot. So I think it's because I grew up in an era where it's like there was constant change of technology, so I kind of pinpointed patterns as to where it's gonna work, where it's not gonna work. And I think we're pretty optimistic in terms of, because it's still a new age. We were like, this is like the .com like era of the '90s, and my gut feeling is that it's just gonna first there'll be an initial hype, and then things will settle down a bit, like how everything, like how the previous eras kind of settled in, and whatnot. And then new jobs are primarily created when there's like breaks. Let's say, for example, if there's like a bot, if a tool is not really is hitting its limit and it can't really solve that problem, that's kind of where humans step in and become more like the problem solvers in a sense. I think we kind of think very optimistically in it kind of like we think, as you mentioned earlier, we think very optimistically and very pessimistically at the same time. So it's like it's always good to have balance in the way we think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Why I ask this question, ST, is see, small businesses are small businesses. They have limited headroom, limited bandwidth in terms of resources, in terms of adapting things, and also one of the big strengths for them is the connection they have with the customers and the data of customers, data privacy for all these customers. And that is why once they rush into something like this, then there is difficulty for them to turn back. And so it will be either they survive or they die. From that perspective, if you were to evaluate, ask any small business to look at integrating AI into their business, how would you want them to get started?
I mean, first of all, I would say start off with with simpler tools. I would not ask them to do a complete transformation of their business. First, I would say let's say for example, if I build trust with a business owner that really needs AI to be implemented, they assume like their thought process is that when you have AI implemented, it's going to be like, all right, it's going to be so big, it's going to be transformational, it's going to make my business work and whatnot, but then it's not as simple as they think it is. It takes a lot of step by step processes in terms of using like knowing what tools to use, where to use it, and how it's going to really impact the organization. So I think the best way for a small business, really, if you want he or she wants to implement AI, is to have a conversation with someone who really knows what AI is, like really like how it works and whatnot. And then it's kind of like you have to. It's kind of like a pinpoint. It's like you're doing your own diagnostic for that small business problem and see where AI can be implemented versus trying to do the whole implementation in one go, because that's kind of how a lot of companies are out there selling the fact that there's just we have the tool. We'll just basically use your business to implement it, and then we can call it a day. But we don't. But it's not how we. That's not how it's done usually. Like we work with them. We see what bottlenecks their business is facing, and we kind of pinpoint which place where they want where it's needed to be solved, and then we implement the AI from there. Kind of like that's more of how we kind of work with these businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of people look at AI from in terms of content generation, generative AI, or either from that point of agentic AI. And both of the things, small business owners may not necessarily themselves be either very technical people or necessarily do have the time for all these things or understand or want to get into both the things. How should they look at it? Because just content, more content, that creates a lot of slop and unnecessary things, and maybe they don't need it. They are already communicating well with their customers. And the second thing is agentic AI. How does that make sense to integrate that into their businesses when they were able to handle everything themselves, and now it will be something that they have to always or continuously look up to? How does that work? Aren't, as a small business, you were giving out everything, your sense of belongingness for your company? Or if there is anything else that I did not mention beyond these two things, generative AI, agentic AI, and beyond something that.
Yeah. Okay. My opinion is that we don't. I mean, the reason why we started Sobo is to really not push the term AI everywhere, because small businesses are not the type of people who just say, "Hey, look at it." Or like small businesses kind of see AI as it could see either as a threat, or it could be it's just like unnecessary, as you mentioned. or in their minds. I think the only reason why you use AI or agentic AI, for example, like generative AI is nothing more than research. Like when you're trying to look for things, trying to see what works for my business, and what if I need to brainstorm things. That's kind of how we use generative AI for mostly. And agentic AI cannot, like, if let's just say for example, if this small business is small, it's already generating leads, it's generating businesses, but let's say the business owner wants to scale the business from, let's say, 5 million to, like, say 25 million, right? That requires a lot more work or it requires a lot more resources to be able to be pulled in to be able to scale that business to that $25 million mark, which that's kind of where I feel agentic AI, especially when you're setting up SOPs, workflows, different processes for the business. I think that's where we're having AI agents can be of use to be able to at least keep the costs low. That's kind of how they should be able to really. That's how we really pitch this to small businesses in a sense.
Right, right, ST. Who is your, ideal client? Tell us a bit more about your company.
Yeah, Sobo. I'm the co-founder and COO, which is, I'm not. I was founded by a guy named Robert Burke. So he's my business partner and whatnot. He based out of here in Atlanta. So Robert started his career off working with IT MSPs. If you don't know, it's called managed service providers. Like, basically like providing small businesses with like particular IT systems, like networking, and it's like network systems and whatnot. So he's been running this company for 17 or 18 years by now. And he, like, working with these small to mid-sized businesses, that's who he targeted in terms of providing IT systems. He kind of noticed that there's more problems, more bottlenecks these small businesses face. And because of that, he kind of realized that, his company cannot be the ultimate problem solver. So he kind of started Sobo as a way to really, be the training ground. I was another trainer. I was like be the main ground for small businesses to come to basically see what diagnosis, like what problems they're facing, and then we kind of generate insights using AI, and then use that insights to then connect them with fractional consultants, like your fractional CTOs, CMOs, and CFOs, and see work. It's kind of how we are trying to disrupt two places, which is the consulting space and also the small business space, in a sense. Like bring back we're trying to bring back fractional consultants into the forefront and really help using them to help small to mid-sized businesses. Because one issue that they face is that, like, consultants are very expensive, and the ones that they can afford, they're not the consultants they could afford, they're not the ones with experience in terms of handling more complex small business issues. So we figured out a way where we focus this more on fractional consultants, where they're like between 4 to 70 years of age, who've got a wealth of experience working with small businesses, and they can basically solve more problems for a business at a fraction of the cost. That's kind of how we structured our company in a way. And yeah, so that's kind of how Sobo came into existence. And right now we are like targeting companies that are in the 2 to 50 or 2 to $100 million range, because the term small business here in America is defined all the way up to 500 million, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, we are targeting kind of like $1 to $100 million in annual revenue, 3 to 50 employees, and we're kind of industry agnostic.
Absolutely. How is the feedback from the ground? Is this whole industry opening up? You talk about fractional everything, CTO, CMO, or whatever it is, and then the use of technology to scale up, and basically using artificial intelligence plus whatever it develops, and then taking the company to a much more higher level.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, how is this trend developing, being part of the companies, the Sobo you talked about? How
Yeah.
are things on the ground? What does your data say?
I mean, our data says is that the consulting industry, which is a $1.7 trillion industry, is ripe for disruption primarily because they don't have they've been given tools that are not properly built that could really diagnose their business, and also at the same time we, we focus more on really empowering fractional consultants coming in and being part of the experience for small businesses, especially when they're scaling. But yeah, I think the tool. I think so far on the ground, a lot of people are saying, yeah, this tool is very essential for our business for sure, and it makes it a lot easier and seamless for us to find the right consultant to be able to work with us and be able to help scale our business. That's kind of how we do it.
Absolutely. So, does that mean that small businesses have a good time in their hands with both technology on their side and the best of consultants also? Perhaps, they can afford easily in this sort of model?
Yeah, they can afford more easily because we've seen test cases with some of our own clients that they saved money from paying more and paying a full-time consultant or paying like an expensive high quality consultant. They were still able to get a decent like a high quality consultant at a fraction of the price because they reduced their hours from, let's say, 40 hours to 20 hours a week, something like that.
Absolutely. There is so much to learn about all this from you, ST, and I'm sure a lot of businesses, small businesses, will want to connect with you, learn more from you, about you, be your client. What's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or if you want to check out our website, it's sobo.ai. You can just look, you can go there, you can do a free trial for your business. Like, you can sign up for a free trial where you do like diagnostics for your business and see if it works or not. You have up to, I think, 10 business up to 10. You can generate up to 10 insights for that free trial.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.